in this cruel war. Pity is as elusive as peace. Daniel Desimone, BBC News, Jerusalem.
Well, let's speak now to Louise Wateridge, Senior Communications Officer at UNRWA. Thank you, Louise, for joining us here on the programme. A really stark example of how, although the world's focus may be focused on Israel, Hezbollah, there is still very much a conflict going on in Gaza. Just bring us right up to date with the situation regarding the education system there.
Yeah, absolutely. So schools in Gaza are simply not schools anymore. We've got 650,000 children who have been out of education for the last year. Half of those were UNRWA students. And the daily reality and the daily life for them at the moment is very bleak, going through rubbish and rubble to find scraps of food and material, queuing for hours a day for water. There's just very little hope, and the bombings continue, the strikes continue. I can tell you a lot of statistics about Gaza. We've been reporting on this over the last year. What's very difficult to describe is the fear that's instilled in people on a daily and nightly basis for 12 whole months. You know, children just in absolute despair, children who are separated from their families, from their parents. It is incredibly bleak, and it only is getting worse.
Yeah, Louise, I mean, looking at those pictures there, I mean, one can imagine it's almost impossible to focus on studies when your daily life is dealing with, like you say, whether you're going to survive the day.
Yeah, and the ongoing war has set children's education back by at least 5 years. We've seen an increase in number of children unable to read text by the age of 10. UNRWA and the UN and partners are on the ground. We're trying to get children back to learning, even among this chaos. You see all this devastation. You see the rubble. You see the bombs. Among all of that, on a daily basis, we are still providing children with psychosocial support. We're providing learning activities. I was at a school recently in Nusayrat in the middle area. And these two girls, you know, they were full of smiles and hope, and they were telling me how they don't know where their friends are. They've lost their old friends, but now they're making new friends. For an hour a day, they come to the shelter for activities. They're among some new friends. They all have shared experience and shared trauma, and it just gives them a bit of hope and normality among this horrific, you know, humanitarian situation that has become their lives.
Louise, it's worth reminding people, obviously Gaza is a very young population. It's worth reminding the scale of the issue here and how many children we're talking about.
Yeah, every second person in the Gaza Strip is a child. It's a very large youth population. And even in the last, 2 days, there have been 3 UNRWA schools that have been hit in these strikes. And this is where people are sheltering. This is where people are living. It's absolutely inevitable that in these conditions that the families will be killed, that children will be killed, and there's no place safe for them to go. So what does the child population do in Gaza at the moment? Where is the hope for their future? 12 months, as we say, is an incredibly long time to go without sustained nutrients, without water, without any kind of food or supplies on a regular basis. They're constantly being displaced. There is no stability for them. A lot of these children have been displaced multiple times. They're living in shelters in very horrific and dire conditions, no hygiene. A lot of the children we saw, in the polio vaccination campaign, they had a lot of skin conditions, skin rashes. It's just unbearable. And for them to not have any hope or normality, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have, and we need to get these children back into learning, back into education, and the only way to do that properly is a ceasefire, and for the return of the hostages, and for this war to stop escalating in the region.
Louise Wateridge, Senior Communications Officer at UNRWA, thank you.